Thank you, Detective. Another person that will be sharing is Dean Lee Fisher, the Cleveland Marshall College of Law Dean, and a community leader. Again, finding balance.
Okay. Reverend Connor asked Detective Hampton and I to share some thoughts tonight as being two of the many original members of the commission. And I've divided my comments into those things that I think are positive and those things that I think are continuing or past challenges. I'll begin with the most important and perhaps most obvious observation, and that is, although Cleveland is facing many problems, as are all cities in the country, it's my view, and I'm going to guess the view of all of my fellow commissioners, that the single most serious challenge facing the city of Cleveland is what brought us here tonight, and that is the lack of trust between the community and law enforcement. And regardless of your view as to why it's happened or what the solution is, we need to acknowledge that it is a very serious problem that demands the attention of far more people than are here tonight. Number two is I also want to say something that perhaps is obvious, but I think is important to say, picking up on what Detective Hampton just said. You certainly should question and have the right to question our views and our actions or our inaction. But no one has, and I hope no one will, question our motives. Because every single person on this commission, including those who have served and have since left, have the noblest of motives. We all want to address this problem. I think it's evidenced by the fact that we have devoted, each of us, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours for no compensation. We're not looking for pats on the back or sympathy, but on the other hand, I think a lot of people, other than the ones who regularly attend the meetings, don't know that we're not compensated and that we do this volunteer and that all of us have full-time occupations. It's why some of us don't always meet our own standards. At least I'll speak for myself. I'm sometimes late for meetings. I sometimes miss meetings. Sometimes I don't do the work and preparation I should for a meeting. And so I'm hard on myself. But I hope you understand that because this is a volunteer commitment and that we all have other very demanding positions, I ask you to give us a little, not a lot, but a little slack from time to time. Number three, as I also will say, I have immense respect for the commitment of the community leaders and activists who have consistently attended these meetings from day one. There are some people in this room who I have seen at every meeting for the last 2 years, and some people who are not here tonight who are at virtually every meeting as well. So whether this is your first meeting or your 30th meeting, I thank you, because you could be doing a lot of other things tonight, especially in the cold weather, and the fact that you're here either once or consistently is immensely, immensely impressive. I respect and understand why you are frustrated, both by us and by the system itself. And sometimes I agree and sometimes I disagree with those frustrations, but it certainly is understandable none the least. The last thing I'll say before I get to the challenges is that we finally have a staff, and it's a remarkable staff. It's 5 staff who are exceptionally talented and hardworking, who come from diverse backgrounds and perspectives, and we're very lucky to have these 5 people, and it's changed already the culture of the commission in a very positive way. Let me now say something about the challenges that we face. By the way, I want to acknowledge the fact, because I can't ignore it, that sitting in the front row there is Councilman Zach Reed, who has been a friend of mine for a long time and has been for a long time a community activist on behalf of communities and making sure that they're safe. So thank you for being here, even when you're not in elective office, which maybe is even more impressive because you're not running for anything. So thank you, Zach. The first is that I was at one point quite angry and still am not happy with the fact that there was a lack of foresight in some ways in forming this commission. The fact that we didn't have staff in place early on is in part our fault, but primarily those who created this commission. They didn't foresee or understand the need for staff, and as a result, for the first year and a half, not only were we spending time planning and attending these meetings, but many of us were actually doing the research that, although we're happy to do, should have been done by trained staff like we have here tonight. So I think it's fair to say that at least some of the mistakes and some of the lack of progress that we had in the first year and a half was due in large part to a lack of support. I would also say that we had some unfortunate turnover of commissioners. No one's fault, but there were some commissioners who I don't think fully understood, perhaps none of us fully understood, the commitment that it took until we started, and for a variety of reasons they left. So we've had some turnover, which has also meant a lack of stability. And we've had, I think it's well known, some friction between us. I think that actually can be healthy, and I think it's to be expected. Growing pains, as Defective Hampton has described it. And we still have those growing pains, although it's far better than it was before. And I want to say a special word about Mario Clopton, because Mario, of all the hours we've spent, no one until Reverend Connor and LaToya Logan, no one more than Mario and Dr. Rhonda Williams spent time on this commission, a remarkable amount of time. And given the fact that they did that without any staff, at a time when there was a lot of friction, they deserve a lot of credit, because even if we didn't always agree, or at least I didn't always agree with their actions or their style, I have immense respect for the time that they put in. You can applaud, sure. Sure. I think that we need more community participation, and that obviously excludes everybody here tonight. But I think it's fair to say that on average, every time I go to a commission, I jot down the number of people who are in the audience. And I can't remember the last time there were more than 25, although there have been a few where there were. It's not easy, and it doesn't happen spontaneously. And some of that is on us. I completely get that. But I think going forward, we have to do a better job, and I think we will, because we now have community outreach coordinators and staff, to get both larger and more diverse audiences, and I mean diverse not just in every way, including geographically, so that in addition to those of you who consistently attend, that we have new faces every time. Easier said than done, but it's one of our challenges. Next, I think we need more interaction between this commission and the police department and the monitor. It doesn't happen regularly enough. It does happen, but not enough. I personally believe that, although I speak only for myself, I think the monitor should be giving a report at every CPC meeting, and I think the Cleveland Police Department should be giving a report at every CPC meeting, because this is the place where we all can come together. There is no other forum. I think it's something that we need to make happen in this coming year. We shouldn't have to go to 3 different places to hear 3 different reports. We should come to one place, and this is the obvious place to have them. That doesn't mean that the monitor isn't doing a good job. It doesn't mean that the police department isn't trying as hard as it can. But the community and the commission deserve to hear reports all at the same time. And when you have questions and we can't answer them, it's embarrassing to me. But it's not embarrassing to me because we don't have the answer. It's embarrassing to me that the people who do have the answers aren't here to answer. That's what's embarrassing to me. And so I don't criticize any of my fellow commissioners for not having the answers. I criticize the format that makes us have to go back the answers, or our staff go back to get the answers, or you go back to the answers. We should be getting the answers here, even when the answers are unsatisfactory. At least we're getting an answer. So I therefore think we as a commission have to do a better job of trying. We can't demand it, we can't require it, We don't have that kind of authority, but trying to get the other parties here on a more regular basis. I also think that there needs to be better interaction at these meetings with you. And what I'm about to say is not meant in any way as a criticism towards Chi-Chi or anybody else, because Chi-Chi is following the rules that have been set by this commission. And I want to make it clear I speak only for myself on this. But I think that while we have to find a better way of allowing you to speak for a little longer time and be a little bit more flexible and less rigid. I think that I do think we should limit your time, by the way. I think that's appropriate. I don't think 2 minutes is appropriate, but I think it is appropriate to limit time. I think it is appropriate to limit the public comment period. But it seems sort of awkward to me to go to Gary, say 2 minutes, have somebody else speak, go back to Gary, another 2 minutes, have somebody else speak, go back to Gary, another 2 minutes. Just give him 5 minutes and let him say what he wants to say. Okay. Okay, whatever. Okay. All I'm saying is that, and I speak only for myself here, but I'm just being honest in my reflections. I think we could do a little better job. Having said that, I hope you understand that I agree with my fellow commissioners that there have to be some limits, just that I think the limits should be a little less rigid. And the final thing I want to say is that I'm an optimist by nature, and I'm an optimist based on fact and evidence as well. And I actually feel that we're at a turning point. It's taken longer than many of us would have liked, but Reverend Yvonne Connor and LaToya Logan have done a phenomenal job of taking over from Mario and Rhonda. They, just like Mario and Rhonda, are putting in far more hours than any of the rest of us, which means that they deserve the same round of applause that Mario got earlier. And I want to say that I'm only asking as we go forward that we continue to engage in mutual respect. Yes. When I hear people like Johnny say that he's not feeling respected, I actually think it's immensely impressive that someone from the Cleveland Police Department, whether you agree with his views or not, is here regularly and consistently, and he doesn't have to be here. He's not representing the entire department, but he's here. That is impressive to me. It's even impressive to me that Gary, with whom I disagree regularly, is here regularly, because the man is passionate. You give him that, and passion is the only way to solve this. So as long as we can as long as we can disagree agreeably, and do so with mutual respect, not question each other's motives, but yes, sometimes question each other's actions or views, but do it respectfully. In a sense, got to think about this. Our whole mission here tonight, those who are participating tonight in the community, and those of us, the commissioners, all have the same goal. I'm positive we have the same goal. We want more fairness, we want more equity, we want more respect in our community, and particularly as it relates to the relationship between law enforcement and the community. And so the real thing is, ought we not be the model for how that respect and now that trust is seen by the rest of the community? I'm not saying that we shouldn't disagree with each other. Of course we should. But if we're not showing the kind of at least trust and respect that we say that law enforcement and community don't show, then we're not modeling our behavior in the way that I think is going to help solve the problem. I don't mean to be kumbaya, because I don't think we're all going to be holding hands anytime soon. But I'm just saying if we could do that a little bit better than we've been doing it up to now, I will continue to be optimistic that when this chapter of history is written, I'm hoping that many people will say one of the turning points was the second 2 years of the Cleveland Police Commission, even more so than the first 2 years. And that it's found its feet, it found its legs, it found a way to better interact with the community and to show mutual respect. And although the problem wasn't solved and probably won't be solved in our lifetime, it is immensely better because of all of us.
Here.